Well, the lilacs are in bloom, and we have an exciting day ahead of us because we're going to do some preserving of some lilacs, some mint, and something else I haven't yet discovered. And we are also going to plant cucumbers. So come along with me while we do some gardening. So here is my first Vego garden. We've put up 2 trellises, and this first trellis is where I'm going to be putting these cucumbers, and I will be putting fertilizer in the hole, and we'll check it out when it's done. So I have 2 different cucumbers. I will post the names on the screen. And then I have Brandywine Pink, and this is Watermelon, and San Marzano, and I've got room for another one that I haven't brought out. Along the middle, I've planted bulb fennel. So it's such a pretty plant. I love the ferny leaves of it. So there we go, our first outdoor planting of 2023. So the first thing we're going to harvest are the chives, and you can see they're loaded with dew, so I brought a towel out to lay them on. But you can also see the blooms coming forward, and I want to cut these chives before they bloom. They are easier that way. And then also I use the blooms. So the mint will have to be washed. I don't usually wash the chives because I'm not going anywhere near the root, but the mint, it's pretty hard to get clean mint because I'm trying to remove a good part of it from the garden. Well, there's our mint. We're going to have to wash that off, like I said. I tried getting the roots out, but I can see here there's even a leaf. So we'll get that out. Then put them in a salad spinner. And there's our lilacs. We're beating the storm cloud here. Did you see? Right up there. So I think we got our harvest. Oh, one last thing, we got to grab our comfrey and freeze dry that. Okay, so now it's time to freeze dry what we've harvested so far. And I'm going to start with the comfrey. So let me bring you down, show you what I'm going to do. You won't see me, but you'll see what I'm doing. Well, I guess you can see me that way. So this is comfrey, and it's pretty fuzzy, and those little hairs can irritate. So I'm wearing some clean garden gloves, and basically I just want the leaves. So I'm cutting off, and the young tender leaves are the best. As they get older, you would have to remove the spiny part here, because what you want is the leaves if you're going to make a tea. Now, there are some people that feel that comfrey isn't something that you should take internally, and that is true if you're using the root. But the leaves are very beneficial. I've mixed comfrey with raspberry leaves for a female tonic, put a little peppermint in it to make it more flavorful, but it is a wonderful source of calcium. And once these are freeze dried, we can use them as a tea for ourselves, but it's not something I would do on a daily basis. But it's also something that you can make a tea for fertilizing your tomatoes. So it doesn't take much. to fill up a tray with comfrey. You, on the freeze dryer, you are not supposed to make it higher than the tray height. So I'm going to just chop these down a bit and see if I can get as much as I can, but reducing the size of the initial leaf. And there are plenty of freeze dry videos on the internet that you can look into. But during the month of May, this is 2023, the Harvest Right is having $500, up to $500 off of their freeze dryers. So the next thing we're going to freeze dry is the peppermint. Now I washed thoroughly, like you would do spinach, the peppermint. I cut off all the roots before I washed it, and then I washed it several times, and then I spun it in my lettuce spinner. And let me move that out of the way so you can see what I'm doing here. And I'm going to basically do the same thing I did with the piece of grass. We don't want that. With the comfrey is try to chop it a bit and remove any roots that may have gotten in there, because we don't want those. We just want the leaves, but it's, you know, you don't really want to make a big deal out of it. You don't want to go through each individual clump. So I got a lot of it. But the difference between a freeze dryer, doing this with a freeze dryer, and doing it dehydrating, which you certainly can do. But the thing with dehydrating is that you're going to lose a good deal of the essential oils that are inherent in as the properties of the peppermint or anything that has a scent to it. So I like to freeze dry, and if you can afford it, it's an investment, but it's one that has paid off immeasurably. I had to answer the door. I'm having my house painted, and they have questions. And what I might do is dehydrate some and freeze dry some, and then we can have a comparison as to what it looks like, what it smells like, if some of the essential oils, if you can tell if some of the essential oils were lost in it. So this absolutely smells wonderful. My granddaughters say that it's the best mint they've ever tasted. They've tried growing other mints, and it just doesn't compare to Grandma's. So they don't call me Granny. That's just kind of a touchy thing, gardening with Granny. I don't know if I'd like being called Granny. It's really interesting what people, you know, instead of great grandma, it would be Gigi. But, you know, I think I'd be proud of the fact that I was a great grandma, still able to function properly. But right now, I am satisfied to be a grandma and enjoying it very much. Okay, so I think we've got a nice full tray of peppermint leaves. Now we're going to go on to the next, which is lilac blossoms, and that's going to be a little bit more tedious. Okay, so now we have these, oh my goodness, the smell of these lilacs are absolutely intoxicating. So I'm not going to be super fussy with this. Basically, I just want the blooms off of the stem. What a busy time of the year, right? Painting, weeding, harvesting. Who thought we would be harvesting this early in the season? Now, I don't really want any of the blooms that have brown on them. I want the freshest blossoms. Then at this point, I'm just going to pick off the fresh blooms from the stalk. I don't want any of the, you can see the brown in here. Yeah, I don't want those. So just gonna toss those. And I would not want to have any leaves. They don't have any medicinal value. So we'll just clip those off. So neither the stem or the leaves have medicinal value. And in my Health to Home, which is another channel with Gardening with Granny, then I have Health to Home, and I also have Herbal Hour. And the Herbal Hour is an hour-long class about how the body works and how you can help it. So in my Health to Home, we're going to create some remedies with the things that we're freeze drying. So in other words, we may make a comfrey salve, we may make a spray that lilac is very astringent, and so it can be used as a toner for the skin. There are some reports that it actually helps to deter wrinkles. We're all for that, right? And so that's coming up in the Health to Home part of the Mary Bourne ND channel. So I hope that you watch for those. I think that they will be interesting. I'm going to try to add more of the recipes and what to do with different herbs and how you can use them in day-to-day life and in certain circumstances where you may need them. Now, astringents help to pucker, you know. Lemon isn't really as astringent, but a lot of times when I tell people, if you can think of sucking on a lemon, you draw your pucker your mouth, and that's kind of what an astringent will do to skin. So it tightens and tones it, and so it makes a wonderful spray. I do a rose spray because rose is wild rose is also an astringent, and it's a beautiful scent because I add the essential oils of Rose Bulgaria, and they have also some medicinal qualities to them, and I just absolutely love the scent. So here we go. I'm going to continue on and get this all done. So the next tray we're going to fill are the chives, which I put in the towel to try and get as much moisture off as possible. I don't spray my chives, and basically I took them from the top part of the plant, so there wasn't any part touching the dirt. So basically I'm just gonna chop these up probably bigger than I would if I was using them fresh, because what I do with these is make a powder, and I make it by itself. I also create a blend. It's a delicate blend with celery leaves, chive tops, and then I usually add a little bit of pink rock salt, and that makes a salt, and it's a flavoring salt, and it's delicious. You can sprinkle it on like macaroni salads or eggs. It is delicious. And, you know, it's probably different every time, but, you know, I just don't use a recipe where I have half a cup of this and half a cup of that. Basically, I'm using half celery leaves and half chive powder. The celery leaves are dried or freeze-dried, whichever. Sometimes I have my dryer going, my freeze dryer ready to go, and I need a tray to fill it up, and so I will use the celery leaves. They're so easy. It's just, I love growing celery, and basically the leaves are just as tasty as the stalk. I use them differently because the stalk is hardier. I also freeze-dried the stalk, and I cut it into pieces, and that I can add to like soups and stews, and so then you have, you know, what people are used to as celery. But I know that most celery salt uses celery seed, but I really love the delicate flavor of the celery leaf itself. And it's, to me, pretty easy to do. So we've almost got our 4 trays ready for our freeze dryer. The different smells. I kind of wish I had done this first and then done the flour ones, but oh well. In the freeze dryer, it won't matter. Nothing will, you won't smell it. That's the lovely thing. Like you can do garlic in the freeze dryer and your whole house won't smell like garlic. Whereas if you use the dehydrator, basically you gotta vent it outside, or maybe do it outside, because the odors, you know, smells the whole house up, and the garlic actually stays in it. Whereas I have noticed with the freeze dryer, that doesn't happen. You can do garlic and make a lovely garlic powder out of it, or you can roast it and then freeze dry it. So then you have freeze-dried roasted garlic, which is lovely to add in to certain dishes. Well, I have to say that that was the quickest of all. So these are my dehydrator trays, and I'll show you what that looks like. They are stackable, so it doesn't have a frame. You create the frame by how many trays that you stack up. So I just want to show you that I'm also putting some lilac blossoms in the dehydrator, and we'll compare the dehydrated along with the freeze-dried. And basically, we'll check to see how long it takes for either one of them. So there's our dehydrator tray of peppermint. You'll notice that on the peppermint, I left it on the stems, which is okay when you're dehydrating. You don't have to worry about cutting it off the stems or chopping it up. Basically, it'll crumble and strip off of the stems. So this is my dehydrator I've had for, I want to say, at least 35 years. And my husband had to replace the switch, and that's all we've done to this. It's been an amazing machine. Now you can't control the temperature at all, so sometimes I will rotate the trays, and right now I only have 3, but as you add the trays on, it'll increase in size, and you can have 10 trays on the system at once. So let's take a look here and see what we've got. So these are the chives, and they're all in this one little pile because I actually was checking it this morning, and they're nice and crispy and dry. And so they're great to add to like omelets or macaroni salads or anything that you want to add a little flavor. The trays come with these kind of mesh greens, and otherwise everything would fall through the holes. So let's look at the next tray. Now this one, that's why I don't like dehydrating, because it does tend to turn things brown. And the lilacs, I actually wanted to remain lilac color, purple, but they're nice and crisp. It can be used as a tea. You remove the twigs because all you want are the blossoms. But this makes a wonderful tea. And then the next was our mint. I didn't dehydrate any comfrey. And the mint is easy. You just kind of crunch it, and then, of course, remove the stems, the woody parts. So all 3 of these will make well, actually 2 of them will make a great tea, and then the dried chives will make a nice condiment. Well, it's a new day, and I've had immeasurable problems with editing and trying to get the end of this video to you so that I can get it out in a timely manner. So a couple of days have gone by, and we've got everything freeze-dried and dehydrated. I'll start with the chives just to show you what they look like. I had some on my omelet this morning, and they smell very chivy and delicious, and they were wonderful on the omelet. The ones that I freeze dried, I actually cut in bigger pieces. So I can powder them and make a sea salt with celery leaves. I'm going to dry some celery leaves when they're up and running. And we will do that together. We'll make a lovely chive and celery sea salt that seasoning that you can add to different things. These are the lilac blossoms. They are really light, but the dehydrated ones, I don't know if you can tell, but there's quite a bit of brown in the dehydrated ones. The scent, one of the things I don't like about dehydrating is that the scent of one tray may leak into the scent of the other tray. And so the lilac smell kind of mixed with the chive. And I'm not as pleased with the scent of the dehydrated one as I am with the freeze-dried one. Even though it's lighter, it seems to have retained some of its aroma. And I'm sure it did retain more of the essential oil because of the process. The mint that I dehydrated, show you on the cap there, it's easier. It just looks like tea. It did get darker, but and it did retain a lot of its pepperminty flavor or smell. I haven't tasted the flavor of it yet. And yeah, this is the mint. So the mint that I freeze dried, I didn't bother with removing the stems of a lot of it because I still don't know what I'm going to do with that. If I'm going to make a tincture or if I'm going to make a salve. So I left it the way it is. At this point, I can do anything with it. I can crumble it, make a tea. I can put it in oil and make an infused oil with it so that we can add it to a salve. There are a lot of options. This is just dehydrated mint, and it's not sifted. It's, it's just the way that it grows, basically. And the smell is, wow, much stronger than the dehydrated. So that retained its aroma so much better than the dehydrated. So the dehydrated actually only took maybe 8 hours. I checked it at 10 and it was totally done at 10 hours. The freeze dried took longer, but I was having issues with my freeze dryer. The bottom tray doesn't seem to be heating. And that's the one that the comfrey was on. And the comfrey turned out really nice. It retained its dark green color. I can use the comfrey as it is. I can make a tea out of it. I can make put it in oil, make a salve out of it. I haven't quite decided. Why don't you put some suggestions in the comment section below, what you'd like to see done. I am open to suggestions because I want to do all of it. I'm going to spend the rest of spring and summer in the health to home part of my Maryborn ND YouTube channel. I want to do the health to home. I'm going to be showing you how I use these herbs, what I use for prevention. I am just getting into using my own herbs medicinally. If you've watched any of my YouTube videos, you'll know that I trust Nature Sunshine, and I use their herbs for any therapy that I want to work with.
So I'm looking for suggestions on what you would like to do. I know that there's a lot of videos out there. Now, I've been an herbalist for 40 years, and I've been a naturopathic doctor for 35. And so it's, some of these people that have videos, they're just getting into it. And I've been using herbal remedies and natural health procedures for a very long time. So I would like to add my expertise, and I would like you to do your own research, because I feel that a good part of what helps you heal is your belief that it's going to help. Um, the placebo effect is real. And I think you can create that energy of healing when you believe something is going to be working for you. And there's a lot to be said about scientific um, petri dish. Uh, what do I say? Petri dish, where trials and seeing how things work chemically. But I think there's a lot to be said for experience, for um, seeing how things work with you, seeing how you feel about them and how they work. So this has been a pretty long video, and I thank you for sticking with it. And I hope that it was enjoyable, that you thought it was educational as well as entertaining, that you give me a thumbs up, and that you add, some of the comments that I can glean from the audience as to what you would like to see in the future with herbs and healing. So until then, this is Dr. Mary for the health of it and for uh, gardening with Granny and whatever else that you watch on my channel.